Hello, good people, and welcome to the Amateur Hour. My name's Justin.
My name's Tyler.
Today's episode is sponsored by the lovely Kelly's Kernels. We love you. Kelly, listen, if you're out there, your eyes shine like the stars, and your popcorn is mighty delicious. Anywho. Sorry, I was getting a little deep weird, with Justin. That one. And Grim Reaper, your beard is soft as the cotton candy.
Okay, let's just keep the weirdness rolling, I guess.
And if I were you guys, I would check those sponsors out because, they're pretty fire. Anywho, I'd love to be back, it always feels good to be back, and I never know what to say until I say it. That's what I gotta say. I gotta say what I gotta say. Either way, we're happy that you guys are back. I know, listen, you're probably like, what happened in November? And I'm gonna tell you what happened. Finals. So leave me alone, okay? Leave me and my family alone. We didn't have a lot of episodes up. I'm sorry. But at the end of the day, I'm my own boss. So what can I say? We had a much needed break. But we're going to have all these lovely episodes up for you guys in December. So just be ready, okay? Just wanted to put that side note out there. But with that, let's get into topics because we got some interesting stuff to talk about. Me and Austin were talking about this. This is a Tyler-filled episode, all right? We're excited. Tyler's bringing it. He's got the topics rolling in. So, but first, we're going to go with one of my topics, Tesla. Tesla has a lovely, brand new, thing going on. And they're opening up. And it's kind of a big deal. It's a little bit of old news, but they're opening up their charging stations. So now they're going to be a very large charging hub, so to speak, because now other vehicles, obviously, that can fit that Tesla-shaped charger are going to be able to charge at Tesla charging stations, which is kind of crazy. And what makes it so crazy is that they're going to be think of a speedway, but they're going to be one of the only speedways. They're definitely going to have a big monopoly over those electrical charging stations coming up. So I thought that was very interesting, right? Like the first electric charging station that's saying, you know what, we'll charge your car, even if you're not a Tesla. And how do you guys feel about that?
I think it's a good idea because all these other electric vehicles, like Rivian has their own vehicle, all of the other Chevy, Ford, all of them are coming out with their own. They're all gonna have different. I'd imagine they all have relatively different parts. So Tesla can literally sell adapters for their charging stations to these other people and make money off of it. So.
Yeah.
And it'll have more people using those charging stations. So I think that they're probably going to make a whole lot of money doing this.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's definitely a good business opportunity. But I just randomly remembered this. My dad and I were talking about this, I think, yesterday. He mentioned that it's great that we're getting all these electric cars and not using as many fossil fuels. But he pointed out that what the batteries are made out of are precious metals and non-renewable, and we're eventually going to run out.
It's very hard to get the materials that
Yeah.
It's funny you bring this up because this is another topic that we were going to talk about, but we never really did. And it's the fact that electric vehicles really aren't as environmentally friendly as people think they are, and in fact they're just as bad basically as a regular vehicle.
And then I heard from another YouTuber that I watch, doesn't have anything to do with his channel, but Linus Tech Tips. I forgot what car he drove. I think it was a Chevy Volt. I might
Mhm.
be, I could be wrong. But it was a hybrid. It ran on gas and electric. And he says that he keeps a full tank of gas, but he also keeps the car charged. Where when he drives, I guess it's a 50-50, probably more battery than gas, but he only goes through a few tanks of gas a year, and
Mhm.
it's mostly on battery power. And I'm thinking like that's probably the best way to go right now, being most efficient, and we're using less of those precious materials. And but it kind of sucks because it's brands like Tesla that are saying, "Oh no, we need to be on battery. Battery's the way to go." But what people don't know in the background is how bad that really is, as you just pointed out. So I, there's not a clear understanding to your general public or people that are driving these cars, and I think that's probably one of the big problems out there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, Elon's done a really good job of branding those vehicles as super environmentally friendly and hiding the fact that you get what I think it's like cobalt is needed for the cars, a lot of cobalt or something. There's like some material that they have to like they dig huge like mines and stuff and have to go through, and all of that involves
Buddy, go
being
on
able to use
YouTube and
fossil
look up the
fuels.
videos and the process and how much mining and how much they're doing, digging up and everything to make a lithium battery. You're going to
Mhm.
be like, holy shit, this is 10 times worse than an oil pump field.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
it's really really bad actually.
It's. I mean, I will say that in terms of at least probably the only environmentally friendly thing that we're gonna have to stand to gain is the at least like the emissions, right, being released into the air. Essentially, right? So we're at least protecting that ozone layer, so to speak, more than with an electric vehicle, more than an actual probably gas powered vehicle. Granted, not renewable source, but at the same token, I think that at least it's a step in the right direction, right? Because it's like, unfortunately, we're not going to have the full answer to how to do something entirely economic friendly while making it popular. So I do enjoy the fact, at least, that these electric vehicles are becoming now a lot more popular because, like you were saying, Austin, all these car companies are picking up this idea of having electric vehicles. Like Audi has now their Audi e-tron. Ford is now they're trying to keep it up and they're trying to develop an electric truck for the truck lovers out there. So it's like we're getting this new popularity finally for electric vehicles. So at least we're gonna be able to cut the emissions down in terms of like the ozone layer. Now the next thing is okay, we need to use something that's a renewable resource, not a
Yeah.
finite.
Well,
That's the next big step.
my thing is like, well, first, like the in terms of like the science behind it, I could be wrong. I don't believe like the emissions that come out of vehicles, like the carbon or the CO2. I don't believe that affects the ozone layer directly. That was like those. Remember when we were kids, they did like the talking about the ozone in that big hole in it, and they found out that it was from pressurized cans, spray cans, and they changed how they make those. So, and the ozone layer is fine. Problem with them is they put out so much CO2 that it's like making it trapping sunlight in the in Earth basically, or in our atmosphere, and so it's like warming stuff. But the thing that the problem is that like to get all of this lithium, we're having to run machines that are not in any way, shape, or form electric. Like mine all this stuff up. They're using bulldozers, um, all kinds of like big heavy machinery that goes through gas like we go through water. But I mean, now that being said, still think it's probably a good idea that we start doing this, but I think that the ultimate move, my opinion, is probably going to be, at least for us to like really save the environment, would be figuring out a way to use water in some way, like ocean water, to power vehicles.
Yeah.
Some type of hydrogen
Well, and
powered
that's
vehicle.
another thing. Everyone's saying I'm being more efficient by charging my car and driving and not burning fossil fuel. Well, here's the problem with that. It doesn't take a small amount of power to charge your giant ass battery in your car. And the power that you're charging that car with is brought to your house by more than likely fossil fuel burnt power,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a coal fired turbine or a natural gas generator, something like that. It's That's most likely how you're getting the power. At least that's how we get the power where we live. There's no green energy station providing the power to charge these cars. Now, if we were using these lithium batteries and we were in an area that was all wind power or all solar power, then it probably wouldn't be as impactful. But at the same time, where we are, we're using fossil fuel to generate power to charge a lithium ion battery in a car. And then when that lithium ion battery is no good anymore, it's less efficient, and you're getting ready to say the car's no good or to replace the battery. We can't reuse 100% of that battery to make another battery. We have to go mine for more materials. It's just the whole cycle when you think about the whole big picture of getting the car, charging the car, using the car, recycling the car. None of it is environmental friendly.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that's
I
why
put a few
there's
links in the live chat
yeah.
if you guys wanted to check them out.
There's
That is lithium
definitely,
mining. It's
in terms
terrible.
of like, being more eco-friendly and saving, our ecosystem. It's between a rock and a hard place, right? Like, I think there's only so much we can do as in trying to figure things out, right? Because it's like we plug one hole in, for a sinking ship. It's like a sinking ship. You plug a hole up, and then the next hole is like, another one pops out. Then you plug that up, and then another pops out. I think ultimately, the more we develop and the more, I don't know, no matter what the tack it seems like we do, we're always going to have a new hole in the ship. And I mean, this is going to sound very pessimistic of me, trust me. But I don't think that there's really any sure one answer. The most we can do is delay the inevitable of the earth falling apart. But I don't think that I think it's inevitable that the earth is going to probably, dry up someday. And like, I know it sounds very dark, but it's
And, and
gonna.
it,
I generally feel like there's I
it's
don't
going to
know.
get a lot worse
Yeah,
before we realize that as one big group. And by the time that realization comes, it might be too late. Who
yeah.
knows?
I just feel very pessimistic about what we. I mean, every little bit can help, right? And I think that, like I said, if we start doing some things that can delay, at least delay said inevitable, would be nice. But at the end of the day, it's like, I mean, there's no sheer one way over the other, you know. It's unfortunate, but that's kind of like my 2 cents and everything. Unless we can develop things that are using this hydrogen and this, wind power and everything like that, or solar power a lot more, I think we would hopefully then be able to, like, let's say these big mining rigs, like if they could be run off of solar power and whatnot, it would be fantastic. But unfortunately, too, we're like in such an industry that is like fueled by, right, like capitalism, right? Like we're just money, 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 money. And do you think these people want to develop something that's going to take longer, be more of a risk rather than something that's just going to make them money? No, they're going to want to do something that is going to just make them more
Every
money.
company out there is built to make money.
Yeah.
Tesla would have to turn itself into a nonprofit
Yeah.
to
And
do
that's not going to
something like
work, you
that.
know?
And they wouldn't.
Yeah.
The
Well,
CEO at the top driving his expensive Tesla truck, I'm sure, every day, is not going to be like, well, no, I can't nonprofit because then you have to play the tax game and you have to write everything off and it's a lot more complicated. You're not allowed to have a whole bunch of money sitting around it.
Yeah.
It's just
you
they
can't
would
make a
not do
profit.
that.
I'll say
Oh,
one more thing, and I'll let you, because I know you really want to say something else. I'll say one more thing, and then I'll turn it over to you. And that is at least the one positive that I can see too, also with these electric vehicles. The one positive is at least it's not like you're gonna have this sort of horrible like wars and fighting, at least as right now, right? Because I haven't seen a lot of craziness in terms of like the lithium, and I could be, putting my foot in my mouth, not knowing so much, but at least right now it won't be like oil, right, where we have all this crazy fighting and stuff like that, right, over this resource, so to speak. So hopefully that can also be a positive, right? In terms of electric vehicles growing in popularity and stuff. But
Well,
Austin really want to say something, so I'm gonna.
oh, go ahead.
well, off of what you just said, I was going to say, for now, not having wars over it. Anything that people find value in, they find a way to have a war over it. But what you were talking about with like warming, like the emissions and like warming of the earth, like the thing is like, I don't think it's that pessimistic to say because at the end of the day, like scientifically, we've discovered that Earth goes through like warming and cooling cycles anyway. So even if we aren't putting out emissions, eventually the Earth was going to warm up and we were going to not be able to live here.
Yeah,
So I don't think it's like,
it's
no,
just like we unfortunately like speeding the process,
no.
right?
I think we're speeding it up now. I think it's a little exaggerated, but that's not for me to say. But like, I think that the real solution probably is that we just got to find somewhere else to live. Um, that's like we don't have enough time, I don't think, to try to quote unquote save Earth because Earth, like, I don't think you can truly change the cycles of a planet. Like that's, I don't know. I don't know if we're smart enough for that, but I do
Yeah,
think we're smart enough to find somewhere that has Earth-like qualities
yeah,
and send something there.
Well,
So
like I think we've just recently done a successful flight on Mars.
yeah,
So that would tell me that there is a, how do I say, a pressurized atmosphere. If it's
I
filled
think.
with breathable air, probably not because there's no vegetation. But a pressurized atmosphere is a pretty good start.
yeah,
Well, I know that there's a lot of like Elon. I mean, Elon's a really, really smart guy. He said that the quickest way for us to be able to colonize Mars would be to nuke it because it would jumpstart an atmosphere, which is a very interesting concept. Um, and I'm sure a lot of people, when they hear the word nuke, they're like, "Oh God."
yeah. More
Um,
radiation.
but apparently, yeah, he said like if you nuked it, it would start the atmosphere and like the radiation. I think he said you like nuke one of the poles or something. I don't know specifically,
Well,
but it would
basically,
still take like
when
thousands of years.
when he says nuking it, he doesn't mean nuclear explosion, everything bad for everything. It's more like meaning breaking up the soil, and we'd most likely do that by some type of powerful explosion. But everything that's on Mars is within it because there's no trees growing, there's no vegetation. So by breaking up the soil and having the best possibility of mixing everything up and exposing gases into the atmosphere and bringing stuff that's underground up to the surface, that would give you a better learning opportunity to see what is in the soil there and what kind of gases are held within the planet. And then that would give you a much better grounds of learning off of what you could start with that planet. I've actually heard multiple things about that before.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting concept, right? And I mean again, I really hate to be pessimistic, and I do believe that just because there is going to be eventual end to essentially our planet, because essentially it's going to be finite. There's going to be an end date for this world. I think that that does not also give human. And I do want to clarify, this does not give humanity and people the right to treat their planet like garbage and right uproot all these forests and all this stuff. Like I do not really condone that much. Like or like when you see like the coral reefs and how unfortunately how they're dying off, like that is some sad stuff because it's our planet and these are animals and environments that are absolutely beautiful that are just getting wrecked by uh, this whole just building mindset. Like we got to build, we got to do this, we got to
Yeah,
chemical this,
and
chemical that.
there,
It's sad to see, and I really think that we do need to take care of our planet for sure. And I do think that we can extend some years and some longevity. And I do really hope that there are people working on innovating and creating these more eco-friendly energy, right? And this more eco-friendly, just like things that we do in general. And I'm probably putting that in horrible words, but my point is like as long as we're working to innovate those things, and I really hope that we do, because hopefully it does offer out some solutions for
it
us to
really
continue.
comes down to people caring. I think I have to say something similar to this every
Yeah.
time we bring it up. It's people caring. Every once in a while, I watch something on YouTube about how they're cleaning up the beaches or cleaning up the ocean water, and you see like huge amounts of trash just floating out in the water, or a whole entire beachfront filled with trash that was brought in by the currents. Or you see like this, I let's say poorer type country that doesn't have garbage pickup or anything like that kind of associated in their country. So it all piles up on the streets and it gets taken off by little ditches and eventually makes it down to a river or into the ocean or some weird way like that. So, but some areas, yeah, it's kind of hard to care when that's how it's been for years. But at the same time, if you're that person that tossed a piece of garbage out of your car because you don't want garbage in your fancy car. I mean, a lot of it stems from little careless things like that. If you properly recycle, if you use trash cans, if you're doing everything actively to control where your trash goes, that's one big thing that would solve a lot of issues here. And then I watched another thing on YouTube. It was the impact that styrofoam has and that plastics have. And one of their solutions was taking the styrofoam, cleaning it, and reusing it, which is great, but it's a little bit toxic to do that because you have to heat it up and sometimes it starts to burn and releases chemicals. Or there's another company that I found and they use mushrooms and mycelium, which is like what the mushroom's roots are. And what they do is they put together a form of, let's say, a carryout dish, but they make it out of mushroom, and then once it's cured, they dry it, and now you have a carryout dish that's 100% natural, and it doesn't matter what you do to it. If you throw it out in the yard somewhere, it's going to get wet or something, and it's going to grow a mushroom. So there's stuff like that that we could do way more often that we're just not doing now, but it's always down to the fact of a person not caring as much as they should,
Mhm.
or if it's some organization that profits off of a certain way of doing something terrible,
Yeah.
then that's another bad thing, which the Tesla and the battery situation.
I think that I mean, it all stems from humans feeling like they have the right to do, they are superior to everything else on the planet. Um, so therefore, we get to make all the decisions. Unfortunately, like brains wise, we are. the most superior thing on the planet. But in terms of how we treat our planet, I think we're like at the bottom.
Yeah.
But I will say though, I think there is hope because like our generation growing up is doing a lot of stuff to like there's a lot of companies of that are being created for people like our age or like you know and between our age and 10 years older than us. I don't it's like a little bit of a split in generation, but they're doing a lot of stuff. There's a lot of companies being made
Well,
that
there's
are like
everyone
that's their
trying to
whole
do
goal.
yeah, there's everyone trying to do the carbon neutral. There's everyone trying to do the cleaning of different areas. We're definitely moving in that direction, but
Mhm.
we have to do like 1,000 times more to make an impact.
Well,
Yeah.
we gotta keep in mind that all of this stuff didn't come out until the 90s that we
Yeah.
found out that
Yeah.
all this stuff was bad. So it's gonna take time. I think, I mean,
And
honestly, we're probably ahead of schedule because we're starting to do electric vehicles. Now we just got to figure out how to create them without, you know, making as big of a carbon footprint as they do now. Then the next step is to the first step to any tech is to create the tech. And all you're doing is you're just trying to fine tune it, fine tune it, fine tune it. And I'm sure eventually figure out some way to make these electric vehicles super duper uh, uh, either carbon neutral or they're to get to the point where they're I don't even know what it would be called to doing more good than they are harm.
yeah.
It's just gonna take time. And I mean, I think we aren't gonna die in the next 100 years. Like Earth has a little bit longer than that.
Yeah,
So,
and on that
Oh
same
yeah.
note, on that very same note, I definitely, what you're saying is like, yeah, we just found that stuff out. And to be honest, we have to start somewhere. Like, I know that electric vehicles that right now is not the 100% answer, but you got to start somewhere. And I do applaud everybody's effort in trying to kickstart eco-friendly things and figuring out how to find a path of doing something solely and entirely eco-friendly. Again, I know my take was very pessimistic very early on and saying like, hey, this is fine, at the end of the day it's going to all go away. But at the same time, can there be an impact, and can we save our planet? I think that as long as we all come together, yes, we can probably figure out some crazy solution. Again, if these scientists and people are really making this effort to figure out a way to be entirely eco friendly, it's going to be great. I think that when it comes to our planet, you do have to set aside the idea of this weird capitalistic nature of trying to make money or trying to own the most this or own whatever that mindset is that is impeding our growth as a society, because I generally do think that like it's impeding our growth as a race, a human race, to advance in technology, to always just have that sort of capitalistic nature of wanting to just profit, 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 and rather than focusing on innovation and being eco-friendly and just having this united sort of science division of figuring out how to either do space travel or just develop these machines that are working off of solar and wind power. I think, it would be great if our society and our world in general can sort of come together and unite. And I mean, I know that they are trying to do these sorts of things, which is absolutely fantastic. But hopefully, a little more focus eventually, someday in the future, can lean towards that. But at the end of the day, too, I understand that people are people, and unfortunately, the world's going to be what the world is. I
Hmm.
apologize for that.
Would like to point out one more thing
Yeah,
before we end this discussion. We're talking about electric cars, Tesla, how much they're not really as efficient as we say they are. But the big topic is lithium batteries. Electric cars have big lithium batteries, But even if you don't own an electric car and you're one of those people that are completely against an electric car for this reason, I guarantee you have a phone in your hand. You probably have a computer, which has lithium in it. Um, you your kid's tablet or anything like that. If I look at my house personally, two phones, two tablets, a computer. I'm sure my Xbox has something in it. I'm sure my TV has something in it. We also have the alarm system here. All the sensors have lithium batteries in them. So
Hmm.
if you're not an electric car driver, you are still using a lot of lithium. So
Yeah.
it's not just electric cars, it's modern technology in general that is dependent upon lithium. That's why it's such a big problem.
Hmm. Yeah. That's it. It's not just the vehicles, it's just in general. And I don't even like, I mean, I'm not smart enough. I don't know what the solution would be either because
Well, we're doing a
we,
lot of different studies on a lot of different types of batteries, different materials we
Mhm.
can use. There's a lot of active study going on for a replacement of lithium, something more efficient than lithium. There's there's studies going on every day. There's new discoveries. We just haven't found that new thing yet. But eventually lithium is going to run out. So really the most efficient thing we can do is find that new technology, find that new way to replace it before we run out of lithium, because that's when we're going to have a war or some kind of bad outcome
Mhm.
because we ran out of that material.
And that's basically what it seems like humanity is we use a material, we're like, uh-oh, we're gonna run out. Let's find the next material, and so on and so forth. And eventually we'll just run out of things to use and either leave or, you know, it'll be the end. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a long, long time away though, people. Long, long
Nothing
time
we would
away.
have to worry about for our generation.
Nothing
But if
for
our
us.
generation doesn't start working on it, who's going to? So
Yeah.
it is a problem that has to be solved now. But the people that are living now, you're never going to have to worry about it.
I'm
I'm
just
going to be
saying,
90 some years old, and it's not going to be a problem for me.
I just like what I'm trying to say is there may not be a solution. It may just there. I mean, we talk about like trying to find solutions for a lot of things. And some things there's just not solutions for, and that might be one of them. We may just keep jumping from non-renewable to non-renewable, trying to create power sources because we need power. And eventually we're going to run out of things to use. I mean, unless they can figure out a way to literally use dirt, like dirt, no materials in it, just dirt to create these things. Like everything else is finite. So even water. So I mean, eventually we're going to run out of things anyway. So like we can find solutions for the current problem, but I mean, we're always going to have this same problem. And I mean, like is that really is it at the end of the day like if we hit 200,000 years of us having humans on earth that's probably a success. I mean, who knows what'll happen after that. I think that said some things there may just not be a solution for. Not saying we shouldn't try to find solutions, but if we don't find one, then we should be able to accept that.
And on that very, open note, I mean, it was definitely getting into a very interesting topic for sure. So I did want to leave the question for you guys out there is what do you think we should do to help the environment? Do you guys believe that there is a sure way in fixing our planet and adding more years, essentially? Or is there a renewable resource out there that we can utilize that can literally power everything that we're having now? What are your guys' thoughts on that? Please leave that in the description down below, in the comments. Sorry. And be sure to check out the description down below as you listen to these or words from our sponsors.
Enjoy high-octane gaming with the Grim Reaper live on Twitch. Watch the Reaper as he plays through a plethora of game titles, such as Call of Duty Warzone, Call of Duty Zombies, Valorant, Minecraft, and more. Join him as he competes against high competition in COD Warzone tournaments for large cash prizes. You can catch the Grim Reaper streaming Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, 6 to 11 p.m. CDT. Just search twitch.tv/The Grim Reaper. Link in the bio. Looking for a fun new way to eat popcorn? Then I have the place for you. Kelly's Kernels has 68 flavors to choose from. Try out their delicious birthday cake flavor or their cheesy cheddar flavor. If you want to go classic, the Chicago style flavor is for you. Either way, you have a wide variety of flavors to choose from. But that's not all. They offer other treats such as shaved ice, cotton candy, and mini melts. Be sure to enjoy the dine-in experience and bring the whole family. So come on down to Kelly's Kernels, where it's always poppin'. Located at 13226 Lincoln Plaza Way, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Link in the bio.
And we're back from a word from our sponsors. I hope you guys enjoyed again. It's always fantastic to hear from you. Listen, you guys over here at Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, you guys are absolutely fantastic. Thank you guys for always tuning in and listening, and it's genuinely from the heart. You guys just continuously listening to our stuff, and that's always fantastic that you guys are coming back. So please hit that follow. Please hit that little like. It does matter. Listen, it matters both on YouTube and other platforms because it showcases our content when people are searching for us. So please hit that like as well on whatever platform enables you to. And again, go over to our description, check out our sponsors. They're absolutely fantastic, genuine people. Go check out the Grim Reaper again over on Twitch if you guys are looking for any gameplay to watch. He's such a swell guy. And check out Kelly's Kernels. Eventually, we're hoping to do some really nice, lovely collab. We don't know if it's going to happen this season, okay? The ideas are in the works. But in terms of logistics, it might happen next season because May's coming around that corner, and this season is almost up. So it might happen next season, especially if we bring them back as sponsors. So I'm just letting you guys know because I remember I mentioned a little teaser of something that we wanted to do. But it's going to be a very special podcast episode, and I know you guys are going to love it. But I just wanted to mention that as a little side note, okay? So again, leave a comment down below. Anything you want to talk about, we're here to talk about it. Follow us on our social media, even though I know we're not as up to date with it. But hey, listen, we're here again 3 days out of the month, or 3 weeks out of the month. So if I were you guys, please just subscribe and follow us. You'll always see information there. When we start doing more social media stuff and get a social media manager on that, trust me, we'll let you know. But still, follow us on there because eventually there's going to be tons of updates. But with that said, let's get into topics. There's a phone we haven't talked about in like forever. It feels like forever. And that is the Samsung. I mean, we had the Samsung Galaxy S10. That was the last time we talked about a Samsung phone. And that S10 was absolutely fantastic. It had me feeling like butterflies. It was one of my most favorite phones I've ever owned was the Galaxy S10. It was beautiful curved, but like just bezels, which were absolutely fantastic. It still had a 3.5 millimeter jack. The sound quality on that thing was absolutely fantastic. Under the glass, what's it called? Fingerprint sensor, which worked very well, mind you. And in terms of style and body of the phone, was fantastic, and camera quality was great as well. So again, one of the best phones I've ever owned, next to hopefully in the future the new Google Pixel 6. But anyway, we haven't talked about the Samsung in like forever, and apparently we got some hopeful specs of what's going to be the Samsung S. Was it 21, 22?
22.
22. Look at that. Lucky number
And I'm going
22.
to disappoint you right away.
Oh,
In the
gosh.
sound category, 3.5 millimeter jack. There's a no with a capital N next to it.
You know what? That's okay. It doesn't
But
disappoint me because you know what? I'm using those
I don't think
Pixel
the
buds.
21 had it either. It's gone.
Yeah. Listen, I was just talking about the S10 anyway. We're moving on, right?
They just said, fuck that part. It's gone. Thank you, Apple, for making that a thing. Apple did it first.
Yes, the
Um,
the trailblazers, if you will. But hit us with some of those possible specs, Tyler. I want to know: is it gonna? Do you think it's this possibly
I
gonna be this
pulled up
this?
was I just pulled up a general spec sheet to run down the whole phone. But the first thing I seen is 6.8-inch screen, and it looks like one, two, three, four, five camera type things on the back. I think the last one only had four, so we have another type of lens. So let's see, where's that at? Main camera. Okay, it has a quad camera. So I'm guessing that fifth is a time of flight sensor. Does it say? Really good camera specs, but I don't believe it says what that last one's for. It looks like it has a red dot thing in it, so it's probably a time of flight sensor. But 108 megapixel and then 10, 10, 12 megapixel, that's Samsung's been right around those numbers for a few years now, and they've been really good numbers. Let's see, the next part that stood out to me was they're going up to 16 gigs of RAM now. But you have to buy 512 gigs of storage to get that 16 gigs of RAM. So I'm assuming this phone's going to be pretty powerful if it can utilize 16 gigs of RAM. It is the flagship Samsung, so I guess so. Let's see. Where's the processor? Does Qualcomm have the 900 series yet, or are we still on 800 series? Does anybody know?
I am not too sure.
And I'm not sure on.
Wow, does this spreadsheet not have the processor on it?
They left off on the specs. They left the processor off of it.
Well,
That's what it
these are
looks like.
speculatory specs, so
Oh, spec.
Well, it's Android 12, One UI 4, so it's definitely the latest of the latest. Usually they are we on Android 11 or are we on Android 12 now?
we are on. I
We're
want
on
to say
11, aren't we?
Android 12. I can tell you right now. Give me 1 second.
Well, the Pixels will have 12 first. Pixels always get it first.
Beautiful update too, by the way. The Android 12s.
Okay, well, I guess we won't get stuck on the processor. It's either in front of my face and I'm just an idiot, or it's not here at all. But lithium ion, again, those lithium ion batteries haunting us. But 5,000 milliamp, that's a good sized battery for the phone. Reverse wireless charging, they've had that for a while. Fast Qi charging, they've had that for a while. USB power delivery 3.0, I think that's new. Up to 15 watts on wireless charging. Let's see, it doesn't say how many watts on normal over the wire, but I'm assuming probably double of what the wireless is. So probably somewhere around 30 watts, maybe higher, I don't know. But still 1440 resolution screen, still not a 4K screen. However, 110 hertz HDR plus 1500 nits of peak brightness. I think that's about standard for all the flagship phones now. So
Mhm.
it's a step above the 21. It's up at the top where it should be. Anything special about it? I don't see anything special, although they usually leave the note for everything special. So we might have to wait for the note to see if there's any crazy new features. I don't know. Anything you guys want to add?
These are all speculatory specs.
Yeah, the website I'm looking at's usually pretty reliable.
Oh, with those
GSM
specs,
Arena.
does it sound like it'll like since I don't really know much, just know, hey, does this phone work good or not? So is it gonna like from that, would you assume this phone would be like really, really good or like what kind of problems do you think too?
Well, since I don't see a processor, I have to
That's the
assume the
big one.
performance of last year's processor, and it was pretty
Hmm.
good. Power efficiency wise and everything was pretty good on it. Um, I don't think we had 16 gigs of RAM last year, so that can always make a big difference in power. Basically, on Android, the more RAM you have, the more stuff you can keep running. And
Hmm.
Android's out of the box, their OS says everything needs to basically stay running in the background so you can get to it fast. Well, that kills your battery, so you always got to do it yourself to make it more efficient.
Hmm.
So out of the box, you're going to want to start doing some adjusting. But all the way here at the bottom, I'm seeing Bluetooth 5.2. It doesn't say anything about where's Wi-Fi. Oh nope, never mind. Wi-Fi 6. So right there, that tells me they're upgrading to a newer modem, newer chip. And judging from the last chip they had, how efficient it was, I'm pretty sure this one's probably going to be pretty close to the same. But I think that 5,000 milliamp battery might be a little bigger. So I'm assuming you'll get about the same performance wise. I don't think it'll be a worse phone. It's going to be the same or better. Just,
Sure.
better cameras, maybe a little bit more storage, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little faster processor, that kind of stuff. But the S series has always been, let's jam the newest tech in the cheapest package we can. And then the Note series is where they completely unleash the phone. So the S series is always the phone that they try to get everyone to buy. And then they
Uh,
always have, what is it, like the J series? That's what they always, or no, I think it's now like the A20 and stuff like that. That's the one they try to get the lower end people to buy. But then all the people that want those super specs, they're always pushing the notes to them.
like so this line of phones we're talking about then is like kind of their best phones in a sense almost. They're like they just shove everything into it, then see what works and like fine tune it for the note.
I would call it their mainstream phone. They call it a flagship because it has all the top of the line specs, but the true flagship is the Note. So I would say this is what the mainstream you're going to see in everyone's mainstream hand. So this is sort of your not middle ground, but a little bit higher than middle ground.
Hmm. Okay. I mean, I wonder if they're working on like their version of an M1 chip right now for their phones.
Right? I
You
mean,
know,
you have
Google
the
did it. Apple's been doing it for years. That could be a good reason why it's not listed in this spec sheet. It could be something they're trying to hide for right now.
Because I feel like all of these uh phone companies, again, I don't really know what you want to call it. Apple's not really one, but they're in the industry. Seems like the phone industry, that's what they're trying to go to is like a one size fits all chip.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
which,
Apple's definitely that company, actually.
yeah,
They've been
I
doing it for years, though.
they're always trying to they're always trying to specialize, I guess is what the best you could call it, or
Yeah.
uh, include
No,
themselves
I
from the very
believe
beginning.
that if they were to do that, though, see, Samsung, they've always revolved around Qualcomm. And
Mhm.
even when you go down here to the communication stuff, it doesn't say anything about Snapdragon, Qualcomm, anything. So they might be working on another chip, and we don't know what it is yet. Because
Okay.
usually it tells you they're using a Qualcomm modem or using a Qualcomm Wi-Fi chip, all that kind of stuff, and that's not listed in this one, and that's very common for Samsung phones.
Hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, it would make sense since everybody else is doing it. You would assume because I mean, it seems to me like, especially in that industry, everybody's working on the same thing at the same time. just one of them gets it out a little bit before the others. There's not like anybody working on something groundbreaking the
Well,
others
right.
aren't already on.
And that's like Google. It makes sense that they came out with it first because Google makes the operating system, and now they make their own hardware.
Hmm.
So now that you have what Google did, which is what you can assume is your best case scenario, now they can take a Google phone and study that processor and see, okay, it's been out for this long, it's already shown this type of issues. How can I make it better? And then try to do something like that in a Samsung phone. And then now they're going to try to be one step ahead of Google.
Hmm.
So yeah, that definitely makes sense for them to go ahead and try something like that.
Yeah, it's I mean, it just makes sense that they would go for that next. They can't fall. Nobody wants to fall behind, especially Samsung. Um,
Yeah, I think in terms of ultimately thinking about where phone developers and all these software companies themselves are gonna turn out, I think them developing their own in-house chip might be more expensive, possibly, or who knows? If anything, actually, it might be cheaper. Um, Either or. My point is that it's going to definitely offer these phones a more cutting edge because they know what users predominantly use on their phone, and what they're most known for. And being able to sort of use that data and create something that is going to cater to those particular individuals or uh, that are using certain parts of their phone more than other parts, it's going to be a huge plus for them because it's going to make their phone feel more nice, more fancy. Now, my whole point of like us at least looking at these specs and speculating what's going to come about, is because I mean you haven't heard much from because they're not really doing the Galaxy series anymore, and now they're in this sort of S22 series, and you really don't hear them pushing this flagship device as much and as often. A lot of what I've noticed that Samsung is focusing on is their their Z Flip and their Z Fold. Like those are the phones that
Well,
they're focusing the most on, and I mean they are very unique. And I think last we
Samsung is
discussed
the
is
brand out there that says this is a feature we have and it's flashy. Samsung is always saying, what is the in thing that is flashy, shiny? You see it on the shelf. Whoa, that's different. That's Samsung. So the flip, everyone's like, "Oh, we got flip phones. Oh, dang, it's a foldable screen inside." Then yeah, then that's why they're doing that because that is just the new tech that's flashy right now. So where when Apple does that, they redesign a phone, they make it look shiny, they make it a new design, but where Apple gets you is the cameras. Apple has image signal processing, the best camera sensors, blah blah blah. Well, Samsung always says we have more RAM. We have this super fast processor that's usually slower than um, Apple's. But what Samsung always lacks is they're always using someone else's chip, but they always have their own features, such as a fold, or they always have something flagship, big high resolution screen, a let's say a optical zoom periscope lens camera. I think we've seen those a couple of times on them. So they always have that flash feature. So this year, I don't see anything special. And being that Google made their chip, the best thing Samsung could do for their own device would be making their own chip that might have like Samsung's image processing, Samsung's security built into it. They would have to make their chip have something special that brings them to the same level as the other phones that are out right now. And that's really those in-house chips that everyone's creating.
hmm.
I think those chips are probably the secret sauce for this go around with phones.
well, you know what other phone has the secret sauce? Sony. Sony has a secret sauce because not many people are into the Sony phone. And I know we just had discussed the Sony phone previously, but I mean, we did kind of want to dive a little deeper into the specs. And by we, I mean definitely Tyler. Tyler had these, you know, deeper insights. He wanted to dissect the phone a little bit more. And with the last couple of minutes for the podcast that we have here, we're gonna have him do so. We're gonna have him dive into
So
these specs.
I was looking into the Sony phone for one reason a little bit because it's so damn expensive. It's almost $2,000 for a phone. When we were
Sheesh.
starting the big footprint phone, everyone was like, "Oh my God, there's no way I'm paying $1,000 for a phone." And now you go out in public and you see $1,000 phone in everyone's hands. So now
Yep.
it's like, well, what's the next step? Sony drops a $2,000 phone. Now, there's no secret sauce at all in the Sony phone. It's a Snapdragon processor. It's a big battery. It's got Sony's, I guess if you want to say secret sauce, it's got Sony's camera sensors. But I think where the secret sauce really comes into play is Sony's camera software. And this is where I think they need to make a leap forward like everyone else designing their own special chips. Because if Sony took their camera software and had their own signal processing chips and everything, you probably wouldn't be able to say this phone has a better camera than the Sony. I just don't think you'd be able to beat it if they produced the entire thing. But they don't, so we're not there yet. But I was looking into the video software and picture software, and you know, on your iPhone or your Samsung, you typically use the built-in camera app. There are other apps you can download, but the majority of us use the built-in app. Well, they simplify it for you. They let the phone do all the processing. They let the phone decide how much light you need, and then you just touch the button. It snaps the picture. There's a little bit of manual stuff you can do to adjust, but not a whole lot. Sony has the same feature, but they also have apps on there where you can adjust literally every little setting in that picture, all live data going through the phone. And then on top of that, they've also made this phone compatible with their high-end, like real cameras, not a phone, just the sole purpose of the device is to be a camera. Well, now you can plug the Sony device into that camera and use it as a secondary display and also control the camera through the apps, which I think is a really, really big feature on the Sony phone. So that's where the Sony phone gets their secret sauce. Now, can you justify that price tag? If you're a photographer, if you do a lot of video, if you need something powerful in your pocket at all times, you probably could justify it. But the Sony phone, even though it's an Android device and there's a lot of people carrying Android, I don't think you'll see a lot of these in pockets unless you're that true professional.
That's a lot of money. Just
That's a lot of money.
really a lot of money. Like, oh, that's you can get
It's
cars for that
definitely-
amount of money.
It's definitely a phone that's really after a niche market. You know, it's nothing that is fairly open and, you know, for everybody. It's a very fine-tuned niche market. But I think in terms of the Sony phone and the focus on this wonderful camera, I think it could really help in the videography industry, right? In terms of film and other entertainment. And especially with like starting off YouTubers and streamers and who knows, even them TikTok stars.
TikTokers.
some of them TikTokers. You know, we're having all these
Hey, that
this
phone might be
influx
able to
of
shoot some really good TikToks.
yeah, we're having this
All those
influx
TikTokers
of
out there, you need to spend a lot of money on your phone if you want good talks.
yeah. So with
You want to
this
be able to tick the talk.
so with this, you know, this influx, so to speak, of media and social media and just media in general, right? Because you have YouTubers, you have all sorts of people like vloggers and all this stuff. And for you to be able to now utilize your own personal phone as your source of filming, I think it's very important. I would say to all those, YouTubers out there and other people that are looking for a device that is going to be the best use for them, and that's going to be, a multi-tool such as this phone, because this phone is a multi-tool, right? It acts as your phone. Who knows? If anything, you can use it as your business phone while also utilizing it for like business calls, texts, and as well as using it as a film camera. I think it's something that is going to be absolutely fantastic to use and very useful for those people getting into any photography and or videography media. I say go for it. I think it's worth the price tag. The spec sheet sounds absolutely wonderful. I'm excited to see a phone focusing on such a niche, and especially a phone that, to be honest, has got to be making some sort of money, or Samsung, or so, I'm sorry, excuse me, Sony would not be shelling out that money for that device. So
I'm gonna put a link in the description in our Discord for you guys to look.
okay.
I think this is the big reason why this phone exists. It's a
Well,
vlogging monitor setup that
I
also
will
has.
say,
Go for it.
I was just gonna say, just a quick comment on like the making money on the phone. It could also be something they're using as offset the profit that they make, so they have a lower tax footprint. Um, Kind of like how Microsoft doesn't make any money off of their Xboxes. They lose money on Xbox.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because like I don't think is, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't. Is Sony like really that big in the phone industry? Like I never really hear about
Sony,
Sony phones.
Sony is big in the camera industry,
The
and
cameras,
this
I
Sony
know. Yeah.
phone that they're releasing is really focused on its camera ability. Other than the fancy camera hardware that it has in the phone, it's your typical flagship Samsung phone. It has high-end processor, a lot of RAM, a lot of storage, but the camera is definitely
It's the selling
more
point
than
of
one
the
step
phone.
above any other camera.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, it's possible that they're using the phone because I mean, I would imagine you would guess you would don't know how much R&D went into the phone. A $2,000 price tag. You think
It's a lot.
they would make a little bit of money off of that, but I don't know. They could be using it as, like I said, an offset for profits that they're making off of their camera line or off of the because Sony's also
So,
I mean, they're pretty diverse. They're
and
in
I'm
the
glad you
game.
asked the question. That's why I had sent you guys the link. So if you open the link in the live chat, it has a vlogging setup that the phone's hooked onto. And I would say this phone is more useful for this type of work rather than it would be to go to a store and just buy a phone because you need a phone.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it. I could see like YouTubers, TikTokers. Shoot, I bet you this would probably work for people who stream on Twitch. Uh, Using that, that would be a good camera to use. Um,
Yeah, if you had your camera mounted up above your monitor or wherever you guys use it, if you had the whole little vlogging setup, it has a little screen so you can see yourself, you know your view's good. It has a mic with like the big puffball filter on it.
hmm.
It has all of that that you can attach to this phone. So really, scenarios like that is where this phone really shines.
Well, it's like I know that they'll do like some people stream on Twitch or YouTube, and it's like they have to have that. They're like have a streaming backpack or whatever. I wonder, I bet you could probably do all of it from that phone.
Yep.
Bet you, like with that setup, it looks to me, obviously, I think you'd probably have two phones. One so you could look at your chat, and then that phone that's obviously streaming. I mean, maybe, I don't know, the OBS and stuff, maybe you can't. I'm not sure, but it'll definitely work for like people who do YouTube and TikTok and like
Well,
like
this
Facebook
this phone
stuff.
has the ability to um export to an external display. So who's to say you can't just plug the USB-C into your computer that you're streaming from and
Used it
import
as
your
the
feed
camera.
into OBS?
That's true too.
You
That's very
know,
true.
I'm sure that's probably a possibility.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what kind of, I've never seen a streamer in real life walking around with all that stuff. I don't know what kind of camera they're using. Uh, looks like a phone camera, so if this camera is really, really good, then that'll be very, very good. That'll that would be perfect use for the phone. Because I don't think like, if I'm being honest, like all the stuff you listed and stuff, it doesn't seem like the phone is special in any way except for
It's
having
the
a really
cameras.
high
So
quality camera.
if I go back, let's see. Now, keep in mind, we just looked at the S22 Ultra, so we know what the specs are, except for possibly they have their own chip they're coming out with. So,
Hmm.
okay, if I go to the phone specifications, we have where is, let's see. We don't care about the cameras for right now. We just want to know just the phone. So the processor, Snapdragon 888. That's a common flagship processor.
Hmm.
It has all the 2G up to 5G cell bands. It has 12 gigs of RAM. It has 512 gigs of storage. Where's the screen? The display I know is a little bit more than most because it's also your camera display. This one's at 4K instead of 1440.
Yeah.
And it goes up to 120 hertz refresh rate, 240 hertz touch scanning rate. So
Yeah.
that's actually a little bit step above a lot of phones too. USB 3.2 Gen 2, so it's got a 10 gig port on the phone. That might be a little bit higher than some phones, but it's also driving external displays, so you might need that. So
Hmm.
there's a couple of things that are camera focused, photography, film focused on this phone, but the rest of it is just your standard flagship
Yeah.
Android phone.
Yeah, so I'd imagine that their market is they're trying to, which honestly, it's really smart, I guess, thinking about it, is you've got all these
They're
TikTok
trying to
kids.
make the professional tool that everyone wants to keep in their pocket if they're in that type of market. So it's a niche product, but I think they're doing it right.
I think the price is still high for what it is, though, but I think that they're in a market where they can ask for $1,000 and people will pay it because
I mean, I'm
they're
looking
not
at
looking
pictures
for
of the
high
phone.
sales. They're looking for
They're
they're
looking for specific professionals to
yeah,
buy.
they're not aiming it at they don't want to sell 200 or 20 million phones. They're aimed at let me rephrase that. They're not aimed at selling like 20 million phones at a decent profit. They're
Hmm.
looking at a niche market where maybe they sell a million phones, 100,000 phones. It's like a smaller amount because I don't know what the good number would be on phones, but like they're looking at small, a higher price because they're basically trying to sell a luxury item.
Oh,
Sense.
Justin, it has a 3.5 millimeter jack.
It's got
Whoop.
all the bells and whistles that we're looking for.
I'm sorry,
And
I just seen it. That's the first thing that popped into my head.
again,
Justin's now buying it.
you have our suggestions on the phone. And I hope you guys really, really dive into this phone. And if you're really considering on getting a new phone, you're like, you know what? Do I want a foldable? Do I want a new Pixel? What do I want? Let us help you with that. What you
And
want is a brand new Sony phone with a fantastic camera, again, if you're in that sort of entertainment field. But with that said, we are short on time and we're going to have to go. We love talking to you guys as always. Again, it's always fantastic to have you here. Please like, follow, subscribe, hit the bell notification if you're on YouTube. All that stuff does help us find the algorithm and build more of us, the amateurs, the community. And again, thank you to those of you who are always visiting. It's always fantastic. Any comments down below, please leave them. If you're interested in the Sony phone, where do you think our world's going to go in terms of our ability to create renewable resources? And are we going to do more space exploration? Is the best way for this planet, or for our human race to survive, to be on a new planet? I don't know. Answer these questions down below in the or in the comments, and then go to the description again and check out all of our links. Are going to be for our personal links, and the links down below. We have a link tree. It's going to take it all of these different platforms, and you choose whatever one your heart desires. And with that said, as always, we love you. Bye.